let's talk seamanship, Matt. That's seamanship is what that is.
We're beating to quarters.
We're gonna raise the topsail. We're gonna unleash the sheets. We're gonna
ready about the jib sail. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
All
we're
the
gonna heave to. We're talking ships. We're talking naval combat. We're talking the greatest movie ever made, Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
The Far Side.
Far Side of the World. Oceans are now battlefields.
Space is now the battlefield. We were thinking, right. The Spelljammer rules came out, and so we're like, oh man, one of the things that Spelljammer doesn't really have, at least to my satisfaction, is interesting and simple rules for ship-to-ship combat, or ship-to-ship encounters, which is like one of the whole points. So we're like, well, what if we made some generic ship rules that could work for at sea or for Spelljammers, what have you?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to noodle on, because there's lots of different rule sets for this, and we're going to talk about a bunch of them, and none of them are quite satisfactory. And I don't know that Matt and I are going to resolve this today, but it is something that we are thinking about all the time. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I feel like this modeling ship combat, crew combat is one of the one of the holy grails of gaming, tabletop, video game, otherwise. Being able to have multiple people on a vessel engaged in a conflict with another equally outfitted crew and making that feel interesting. I think that's something that many, many games have tried and none have yet accomplished.
Well, everyone wants it, right? We've all seen every Star Trek movie, right, or The Expanse, or Master and Commander, or your
Firefly.
Horatios.
Somebody's always got something
blowers.
to do,
Yeah. Everyone's doing a cool thing, and it's all, working together, and you're fighting as a team. In some ways, it should work naturally for a game like D&D, where you have a party and stuff. But in the past, it hasn't, because in Spelljammer, I guess the wizard or whoever is controlling the helm does everything. Spellcasters have cool things to do. They can shoot fireballs at the enemy ship, heal. A lot of people don't have anything to do. This works better if you're playing, the Star Trek adventure role-playing game, where your character class is based solely on like what you can do on a ship. But not so much where you have like rangers and rogues and barbarians who may not be...
Right.
So you have to come up with a bunch of things for those people to do that are cool and fun.
And sometimes you can get this right if everybody has built their PC to do something on a ship, right? And so they get to do the thing that they want. But if they haven't, and even then, really a lot of times these combats come down to basically, captain versus captain, pilot versus pilot. All the real meaningful decisions are taking place at the macro level,
right. And here's the thing is there's a lot of cool sci-fi games, and I think Rob and I have played in some together where it's all right, there's an epic space chase through the asteroid field, and guess what? This is time for that character who took the pilot class, who does absolutely nothing the rest of the time to do something cool, which is fine, but then it's also everyone else is just kind of watching. It's not satisfying.
Yeah. It's hard to do, but I think part of this is, just the structure of D&D, but I also think that it's more challenging than it sounds to make a interesting game, an interesting encounter where everybody is actively involved in the conflict, but, and feels sort of not equally important, but everything that they're doing is contributing to the overall outcome. And yeah, like we've said, some games do a better job of this than others, but I still think nothing gets it quite right, but there's something to be done here.
We've both run Skull and Shackles, a pirate naval adventure path. And I've run a bunch of sci-fi games where there's a lot of ship and ship combat. What's your take and experience or examples from past games? Do you have any fond memories of a cool ship combat that you ran?
Yeah, I also ran a couple Star Wars campaigns that, again, I tried to throw in some dogfights and my experience is generally that players don't hate them, but they don't love them either. In my Skull and Shackles campaign, I had a rival to the party who had a really cool, basically like a floating fortress of a boat, and, was rowed by Dwarven galley oarsmen rather than sailed, and so it was an interesting encounter, but ultimately, aside from the tension of being chased down and having to fend off this larger ship, the actual combat itself wasn't very interesting, and that was kind of how most of those ship combats went. There was some excitement at the beginning, but I always found myself kind of rushing through to get to the boarding action, because the combat itself just wasn't all that fun for everybody compared to what they were really excited about, which was jumping on the other ship and busting some heads in person.
And this is what works well, because two ships next to each other, that's basically like a 2-room dungeon map. Right? It makes sense to everyone. You could put it on a grid if you want. There's plenty of opportunities for combat and spellcasting and all the things native to D&D. Yeah, my most epic Skull and Shackles encounter involved the classic pirate rival double cross, in which one of the members of the party went over to a rival pirate and then, when they were in a confrontation, betrayed the rival back for the party, crippling the enemy ship and allowing the players to, hammer it and then board it. And everyone was like, oh, this is so cool. That moment when your player lifts their sword to the rival captain's throat and say, actually, I was double crossing you. Right. But that has nothing to do with the ship rules themselves. Right. I do have one example. I did run a sci-fi game where I wrote my own ship rules and gave I think the key was giving everyone something to do, and also giving hard things, right? Oh, here's the scenario. You can drive your spaceship through this big space canyon, right? You'll have to do this. The other people will have to follow you. And they're like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do our cloaking thing. And then when the other people come out the other side, we will, blast them to smithereens. And, oh, cool plan. That works well. And, lots of instances like that. I think maybe here's the thing. Spelljammer, D&D, Skull and Shackles, they've all figured out that boarding works really well with fantasy. With sci-fi, it's a little easier to give everyone a job, right? Because you can imagine a ship like the Rocinante, or the Firefly, the name of the
Serenity,
ship from Firefly.
Nat.
The Firefly, the classic name of the ship. It's there are a bunch of things you can do. You can be in engineering. Right. You can be on the turrets. You can be doing shields.
I mean, the classic is Star Trek, and Star Trek does this the best, right? There's somebody in engineering, and stuff's blowing up, and Geordi has to stop the stuff from blowing up, and then somebody's injured, and Beverly has to, make sure it has to tend to them so they can get back out there. And
Counselor Troy has to say, someone is feeling a feeling. Sir, I think that alien that's yelling at us is angry.
And, somebody's doing navigation and guns, and Wesley is fucking up, and it's, but everybody feels like they're, and this is part of the story that's being told, which is not so much about the sheer, firepower of the vessels against each other. It's about,
Yar, avast there. Here ends our, here ends our free preview of premium episode 218 for our Patreon subscribers. If you would like to hear the rest of the episode and hear Rob and I discuss more ship things and build out some ship encounter rules, complete with 3 levels of granularity for ship movement and actions, 10 different ship officer roles for your crews, and almost 20 different unique ship actions that your player characters can do while crewing a ship. Please subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None, to again hear the rest of the episode and to get our write-up of these really fun ship encounter rules. As always, thanks for listening, everyone, and keep rolling them dice.
There she swings an empty hulk, not a soul below now. Number 7, starboard mess, Mrs. Jack and Joe now. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, folly, rolly, 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 ride-o. But the best of friends must part, fair or foul the weather. Hand your flipper for a shake, now a drink together. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, folly, rolly, 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 ride. Oh, long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, folly, rolly, 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 ride. Oh.